Hi, this is Maria Quattrone, and this is the Be the Solution podcast. And today I welcome my guest, Melissa Perrille from North Providence, Rhode Island. Welcome, Melissa.
Thanks, Maria.
I wanted to be in a business that I did not have a ceiling. Take a pen and a piece of paper, draw a line, draw another line next to it. In 365 days, if you drew 365 lines, you started here with one line, but look how far you've come.
Melissa, how are you today?
Fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm doing great now that I'm here with you. I'm excited to talk with you today.
Same here.
So I want to dig right in. Let's get right into it. So Melissa, tell us how you got into the real estate industry.
So very interesting story. I came from a family of people that my mother, my father always rented. They never owned a home. So my goal was to never rent anything. So when I was 23, I had enough saved to buy my first home. And I went to a coworker who did real estate as her side hustle. And I'm a very strong person. And unfortunately, she brought me to tears during that transaction many times by her incompetence and not knowing how to properly guide me as a buyer. So once I went through the transaction and I gave it really an overview, and I said, honestly, if she can do this, I can do this. And that was
borrowed belief.
That's it. And honestly, it's been the best thing I've ever done. I've also gotten my appraisal license. However, real estate is my drive. It's my passion. And I never work a day in my life.
Wow. And now tell us, what year was this?
I'm sorry?
What year? When did all this happen?
Year? That was 2001.
2001. So we just got 21 years later, and here we are.
Yeah, that's it. It's been a journey. So we've been through one huge market crash, and we've had a lot of more positive than negative, obviously, with real estate. Lots of great clients. I've learned a lot along the way between, having mentors and coaches and, industry experts, being around, like Tony Robbins always says, proximity is power. And it's definitely true as being here with you.
That's right. Proximity is power. I want to go back for a moment because, in the market that we're in today, there's a lot of talk around things changing and things getting a little bit more difficult than they've been over the last several years. So let's go back to that time in 2007, 8, 9. What are some of the things that you could take away from that time that you will bring forward in the time that we're moving into for your agents?
So one of the biggest takeaways that I learned from that crash was diversify. So I had a lot of my eggs in one basket regarding investors, regarding loan officers. And the biggest issue that I had with that was when the market went down, a lot of them closed their doors. And what I've done right now for my agents is we have diversified the business so much. I've taught them on how to create possible passive business also with rental properties to also help and assist their income. And obviously, just like we did in COVID, we're going to pivot and always looking for new opportunities, always prospecting, always keeping your pipeline full. So when those peaks and valleys happen, we have more peaks than we do the valleys.
More peaks and valleys. That's right. So let's talk about that a little bit. This P word, the prospecting word, my favorite word,
right?
in sales. It actually is, because if we can control the prospecting, we can control our destiny. Exactly. So what does that look like, the prospecting sector, Melissa, in your organization?
So when I was in the field, I always made 250 calls a week, prospecting calls. That wasn't
calls or contacts?
Calls.
So dials.
So dials 250 a week. Currently, with my current structure, I have a full staff of full-time ISAs in an ISA department that my agents have also as a second backup to their prospecting. So when the agents each week, they are required to make at least 100 prospecting calls in their database, which isn't hard because they typically have between 2 and 3,000 leads in their database.
Each
So
of them?
each of them, yes.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's a lot of leads and it's a lot of opportunity. So they have a ton of gold in their database. So my agents are not sitting on the couch eating bonbons, waiting for my ISAs to make calls for them. If my ISAs are having a slow week, they can go into their database and find the gold.
Mm. So I say the fortune is in the follow-up, which is in the database,
Exactly.
right? It's not necessarily the new people raising their hand because hardly anybody, very small percentage of people that raise their hand pull the trigger right away.
Exactly. And I think that is the biggest missing piece in our field. Everyone thinks that they're going to get their license and they're going to be driving a Mercedes-Benz the next day. That is truly what I feel. And I think HGTV has aided that to a lot of, the public. Unfortunately, pounding the pavement is where you're going to make the money and you're prospecting. The goal every week for my agents is to be doing a minimum of 20 showings, working with 6 to 8 active buyers all the time. And they have to make their 100 prospecting calls. And once they hit that 150 to 200, that's really what moves the needle for them.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. So 100 calls, 100 dials is the minimum standard to stay in your organization, sounds like.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
And what you're saying, Melissa, is that if an agent or a salesperson is reaching 150 to 200 dials, that's when really the momentum will happen for them.
That's when we're seeing right now a lot of the conversions taking place because they're number one, they're keeping their database intact, meaning that anytime that they call a client, they're always scheduling a follow-up for that client. So they're never leaving a client without a task to call that client. So if you call me in the morning and I don't answer, I want you to task yourself to call me in the afternoon and then maybe the evening and then maybe on the weekends also. So there's always a future task. So every day they get up, they know exactly who they need to call in their database.
Exactly. So we call that how much by when.
Yes.
How much by when? So we never leave an appointment without the next assignment, right?
Yes.
What is the next step? How do we proceed? Because, right, Melissa, we are looking at one thing at a time of taking somebody from raising their hand to the closing table.
Exactly. And
And all we're doing, go ahead.
we all know that process is very lengthy sometimes. We have leads in our database that we're closing that are 4 and 5 years old.
4 and 5 years old. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's in follow-up, boss?
It's in follow-up, boss, yes.
Right. So let's talk about that for a second. Your tech stack, what does that look like?
My texting?
Your tech stack, like follow-up, boss.
Oh, okay.
What other systems?
So we have a variety of systems. So our main CRM is Follow Up Boss. And the reason being is I was dedicated to one platform before, Commissions Inc. We all know as Sync, which had all the bells and whistles. It was amazing. I was 100% in on that. Had all of my follow-up plans, everything on there. It was amazing until they started having issues. And I had a staff of ISAs that couldn't make calls for a couple days. The system kept going up and down. So what I did was I have Follow Up Boss as my back end. I have Sierra Interactive as my front end, which has been fantastic. However, if a new front end IDX feed comes up, I can change or I can add it onto my Follow Up Boss platform. I'm no longer crippled and held hostage to one front facing platform where if you change, you lose all of your data. So right now, I don't have that issue anymore. So happy with that choice. We have call action also for our follow-up campaigns for all of our leads. The Revive campaign with call action is amazing.
So what does that tell us more about that?
So with call action, basically, anytime a lead has been non-responsive, they have all these different programs in there that basically you can schedule. You can schedule a text, an email, a voicemail drop to go out, and it's revived a lot of our older leads. So right now on the older leads, we're getting open rates on our emails and responses where we never got anything, about 30 to 35%, which is huge. And even if they're responding that they already bought or already sold, that's great. We cleaned up the database. So we're cleaning up the database and we're future tasking also. So if they've already bought or sold, we're going to make contact in a couple of years with them.
Excellent. So it's a system that you can plug into the Follow Up Boss by Zapier, or they have
They have
already
a direct
they have
integration.
a direct integration API.
It's amazing. So that's a great system and a great tool that the agents love. We recently just onboarded and we're going through the training for Homestack. So one of my biggest pet peeves is I always shop our competition. And once the big Z and the big R started sending me direct pushes on properties, I got very upset that I couldn't do that and my website couldn't do that. So now with Homestack, we're able to basically put our clients in there. They download our app. Anytime a new property hits, they're going to get a push notification from us.
Is that Home Snap?
Stack.
STACK?
Yes.
Huh.
So
Haven't heard of it.
It's a brand new. Oh, actually, I don't think it's that new. I think that they've been around for maybe a year or two. Just onboarded with that.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yep.
And so these are all tools that the agents can use to make them more successful and more efficient in their prospecting and help them get that person that's on maybe the fence, or maybe they already bought and you're like, hey, that's great. Put them in for a future possible seller down the line at some point in time, but at least you know what's going on in the database.
Exactly. Maria, I don't know if you're finding this also, but my biggest issue was always complacency kills. And that's how I feel. It's like we always have to be moving and looking at what's out there in the industry. I'm finding with my team agents to move them onto new platforms. They're kind of hesitant. They're like, "Oh God, what is she making us do now?" How are you feeling with your agents? Are they embracing the change, or are they pushing back a little bit?
We're just working through making the calls and Follow Up Boss and staying consistent, persistent, and just keep moving and skill building. Honestly,
Okay.
we have a lot of new folks, so skill building.
Mm-hmm.
Mentorship, coaching from me, coaching from Pipes. We're sales velocity.
Yes, Pipes is amazing. We've been doing his coaching program. I'm sorry, my dog is seeing a delivery. So
Coaching from Pipes is really great. Learning, I think it's really important that at this time, and we had this conversation yesterday, Melissa, that we really are digging in deep with the client, understanding where they're at, understanding do they need to go, they probably, if they've been looking for a few months, they need to get pre-approved, finding out where they're at. And actually, I said everybody should have a buyer strategy session scheduled again if they haven't bought, if they've been in the system for the last, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, because I would say, are we really motivated? Are we willing to do the things that we need to do as a buyer today? One of the things is getting somebody into a home that's never owned a home. And even if it isn't the perfect home for them, giving them the opportunity to be a homeowner so they can over time create that generational wealth, create that equity that then they can take and then be a move up buyer. But if they can't get out of renting, they'll never get into that scenario.
Exactly. And I will say my top ISAs, the reason why they've set so many appointments is because of the rapport building. So, one of my ISAs, every time they get off the phone with a client and they have to basically set another task to contact that client, they're putting in there what they spoke about. Son just won an award at school, follow up in 3 months. They were at the baseball game, junior hit a home run. And so when they're calling them back, hi, Melissa, just checking in. Hey, I was just thinking about your son when I was looking at watching the baseball game last night, and they hit the grand slam. How's everything going? So they kind of start off with that, and that cuts the ice immediately. And the clients are the rapport building is amazing. The clients are coming through my door for their buyer consultation, asking for the ISA.
How about that?
Meet the ISA because of how much rapport building was done. So, and I think that's the biggest piece that the agents miss sometimes when they're on these calls and they're making their calls. They need to realize what's in it for the client, not what's in it for them, because we already know what's in it for them. What's in it for the client? And, and I try to tell them, listen, if every single lead was a good lead and it turned, I wouldn't have to bring in 1,500 leads a month. So that's the biggest takeaway that I think the agents need to learn is conversion is very difficult. However, what's easier is once you rapport build. You rapport build and the conversion piece is much easier.
And I think you can build rapport by just being the expert.
Exactly. And agents, it's much easier for an agent to convert a buyer or a seller than it is an ISA because they are the expert.
They are the expert. And then getting somebody into expert status, what does that look like? How long does it take?
So, unfortunately, as you know, in this field, there's a lack of training. And that was one of my biggest pet peeves. And I set out to change that. We have a fantastic onboarding system for our agents. It's amazing how many agents come to our brokerage and tell us that they never learned this. They never learned that. Before, I just thought that when they came from another brokerage, they were trained. No. So it doesn't matter if they're inexperienced or a brand new agent out of the gates. They're still going through the same onboarding training. They're going through all of our expert training, like Bill Pipes. He's amazing. We have all of our training that we've paid for with national trainers on our platform. And it's a 24-hour access. Any of our trainings that we have done, we've recorded. So if they have a question, we're pointing them to our training platform so they can learn.
Which one is that?
I call it, because we're a Premier Realty Group, PRG University, but I use Thinkific as a back end for that.
Thinkific.
Yes.
So all of the training, everybody can just go right there and say, I want to find out about listings. I want to find out about what I do after it goes into escrow, whatever it is.
Exactly. Home inspection responses, how to present an offer, escalation clauses. Every single training we've ever done is on that platform. Every time we do a new training, it's on the platform. When my office manager onboards an agent, she records it and it goes into their personal portal so they can recap on the training if they ever need to.
So that's fantastic. So everybody goes through that. How long does the training take for some? Just the onboarding.
A brand new agent, as soon as they sign with us, we give them access. And there's a mandatory onboarding of at least, I believe it's about 24 hours worth of videos and content that they have to go through. And then they come in with my my office manager, and they get a one-on-one on all of the follow-up boss systems, which they've already taken. However, now this is going to be a refresher. And all of our Sierra Interactive, anything that they're required to do. And then they start shadowing buyer appointments from our agents. And they also start shadowing open houses, home inspections if they're brand new. If they're an experienced agent, we don't require that. But the biggest thing that was a game changer for us, and we didn't realize this, from our great coach and mentor, John, our new agents were in the field and they were afraid to pull the trigger on making an offer because they didn't feel they had the knowledge in order to do that, even though they have their team leaders, they have us to go to. So now when they onboard, we're requiring them to write 5 offers per day for the first week, all different scenarios. And it's
5 offers per day for the first week.
Exactly. We're providing them the scenarios.
5 offers. Okay. That's a lot of offers.
It is.
And are they writing them physically in the DocuSign?
Yep.
In zip forms or?
Exactly. And they're sending them to my office manager to approve. So different things. Basically, Maria's buying a house with her husband. They're using an FHA loan. This is what they want to offer. She wants to know what her down payment will be. We're giving them everything, and then they have to let us know exactly what the breakdown is, how much the deposit is going to be, what the offer is going to state, if they're doing a full home inspection for informational purposes only, if it's subject to Maria finding suitable housing, all different scenarios. So what they have is they have all these notes now and offers they can go back on. So when they do have to put an offer in, they've covered everything. Cash offer, investor offers, everything. So it's a lot of them. They print it down and they put it in a little binder, which is great because they just flip through the binder when they have different scenarios and they need to look back as to what they did for that offer.
That's great. And they could just even print it out and write it up, right?
Exactly. Yep.
I love that. So training is critical.
Key.
I agree. Mm-hmm. We do a 2-week onboarding training. Actually, it's broken down to now into about, instead of 10 full days, about nine days. But I don't know how else to get all the information that you can get so you can go show a property.
Yeah, I tell them a lot. Unfortunately, you're going to learn a lot in the field. And when you're doing a home inspection, I don't want you sitting there chatting with the other agent. I want you following that home inspector around so you learn all the components of a home. Because when you're in another home, you need to be able to know if the buyer says, hey, what's that? You need to be able to explain to them that's a high efficiency, indirect, hot water heater. They need to be able to explain that. So do not sit around. If you're a new agent, do not sit with the other agent talking about business. Go and follow that home inspector around. I don't care what side you're on, buy or sell. That's where you're going to learn the components of a home.
Sure. So let's switch gears a little bit. I mean, one of the biggest things is for a leader is leadership.
Yes.
Is leadership. And so that could be very challenging. You've been very successful in what you've been doing. What things did you have to overcome to get where you are now?
I think I just had to get out of my own way. Honestly, bless you.
Thank you.
I became very complacent at my last brokerage. I basically ran the show, didn't get compensated for it. And my broker kept telling me, oh, man, you don't want to do this. You do not want to open a brokerage. Whatever you do, do not do that. And it's actually the opposite. I remember when I sold, first time home buyers a house, and they're at the other end of the closing table and they're signing their docs and they're thanking me, and the goosebumps I got. Now, when an agent comes to my door and says, thank you, it's the same feeling. They are so happy that someone invested in them. And there's not many brokers that are going to invest in them. And that's my goal, is to get them to the next level and see their careers thrive. So, what leadership means to me is basically worrying about their family before I worry about mine. I want to make sure that I'm providing them everything that they need to have success, and always being there for them. I've spoken to so many agents that they don't even see their broker. Their broker's never in the office. And it's the reason, the main reason is because their broker is running a brokerage model, that they're in the field, they're producing also, because they have no choice. They're not providing any value to their agents. And if I'm not providing value to my agents, they're going to find a broker that will.
So you run your office as a team?
I have two models. I have the team model and the independent model. So if they feel that they can come off team and be independent, we have great splits for that for them. I'm still there. I'm still in their corner, but I'm not providing them with all of their leads and their buyer and seller appointments.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
So with all that, what's in store? So what is your next things that you're working on?
God, obviously we just brought the mortgage piece in, because we want to bring our clients everything that they need for the home buying process. We already have the insurance services, we have real estate services, and now we have mortgage services. The next thing is 100% client focused, and I want to bring in the moving truck. We always have one annual client appreciation event. I want to bring that to 2 or 3 a year. And I really want to get a solid referral program for our past clients.
Wow, that's a boatload of things to do.
It is.
So you got a moving truck coming. You're going to wrap that thing?
Yes.
Awesome. Great stuff.
My only concern is the moving truck. We're probably going to need 2 of them. And right now we're kind of busting at the seams at my office. So I am looking for a bigger building. However, they're not easy to come by right now. So as soon as we find one, I will definitely jump on it.
They're definitely not easy to come by.
Yeah.
How many folks are in your organization?
Right now, we just onboarded a good amount of team agents. So we have 20 team agents, and I have another 10 independent agents. So we have a total of 30.
Awesome. And your support staff?
Support staff. So let's see here. I have 6 in-office support staff. I have 5 virtual support staff, and we also have an ISA department of 6.
Wow. You got a lot of mouths to feed there, Melissa.
We do. We're getting by though. We're getting by. And
yeah, you're doing an amazing job. So I have a couple, I guess, quick fire out questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Books. What are your favorite books? What do you recommend if anybody got into business, or they're in sales, or they're in real estate or mortgages? What is 3 books that you would say you have to read these books?
I'm obsessed with Grant Cardone.
Okay.
Obsessed with all of his books. I've read them all. My favorite is the 10X, obviously. Love him. Obviously, the Millionaire Agent, that's just the standard go-to book. But honestly, a lot of audiobooks and podcasts right now. Obviously, Gary Vee is very good. Trying to follow all of the financial aspects of what's going on, so that you can provide that to the agents and your client base.
Any podcasts that you recommend?
Yours, of course. I like obviously Grant Cardone. Grant is amazing, and he's very upbeat. Interesting stuff what's going on with apartment buildings being bought up, things like that, hedge funds. So I'm big into that right now. So that's where my suggestions are.
Awesome.
How about you?
Yeah, so I met Grant back in Nashville when he lived in Nashville. Trying to think what year. Probably like 15, 14, something like that. And interesting guy.
Yeah,
He was not anywhere nearly as successful as he is today. But
yeah,
he was successful back then, but now he lives in Miami in some big fat house and
yeah. No,
yeah,
I'm
so
sure the ego got to him a little bit, but I like the 10x book. I think it's chapter 6. It's I think it's like, I'm sorry, I don't want to swear in your podcast, but it's like
it's okay.
okay, it's like what, don't be anyone's bitch, or don't be a little bitch or something. It was just like, it's just because, as a leader, our agents come in and I tell them, you can make excuses or money. What are your options? You can make calls or clean toilets. That's kind of where it's at. And if you're not out there prospecting and keeping the mindset that you're in sales, you can't be a come and get a me. You have to be a go getter.
A
And
100%.
that's the biggest challenge that I feel a lot of people in this industry don't realize. And one of my biggest aha moments was when I was researching the top producers in my market. They always stayed the same year after year. They might have had like maybe 5 or 6 more sales, but their transaction count never increased. And I'm happy to say year over year, we're always going up at least 30%.
Wow.
And if you do that research in your market, or if anyone does, they're going to see that the biggest needle movers are teams. And I think that's definitely where the real estate industry is going, more team oriented, because we're able to provide the full back end and the support for our agents. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're taking what the compensation is and we're investing everybody's portion into the organization, into system services and platforms and marketing, right? All of those things combined. If you have 20 people and everybody's contributing part of their commission to that, nobody could do that on their own. It's too costly. So people will say, well, I'm at 100% brokerage. I'm like, that's great. What are you getting? Right? Zero from zero, zero. How many transactions have you closed? How many opportunities, and I say leads or opportunities, have been in front of you that you've been able to convert to a buyer or seller? Right? All of those things. It's not free.
No, definitely not free.
And it's taking a leader like you who is willing to take the risk and the investment to go ahead and continue to provide, the great tech stack that you have through Sierra and Call Action, Follow Up Boss, and now the new thing, Homestack, all of these different systems in order to provide the agent that works in your organization a great environment for them to thrive and be able to, because real estate is just a vehicle for us to support our dreams, right?
Exactly. And it's a wonderful, wonderful dream, trust me. And it's, as long as you utilize it, you do what you're supposed to do, you're fine.
Absolutely. Well, it has been a pleasure today, Melissa, to have you on the Be the Solution podcast. You're great. You have great energy and you are a wonderful woman and a wonderful leader. And I am blessed to know you and I appreciate you. And thank you again for taking time to join us today.
Maria, thank you. You're amazing. I appreciate you inviting me to have this opportunity. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Make it a great one.
Thanks, you also. Bye.